Good day, my friends! I hope everyone is having a wonderful time because very soon I've got a lot of new Final Fantasy XIV lore content planned. For the past couple weeks I've been taking my time trying to experiment with other editing and recording techniques to try and improve my video quality. What can I say? After the collab video I did with JoCat, where he and I talk about the nature of roleplay and character writing together, I've been kinda hyped to try new things. If you've not checked out that collab video yet, I'll leave a link in the description for you. But after talking about roleplay with him, I got to thinking that there was one more thing that I wanted to tackle before getting back to my regularly scheduled lore videos. And that is the nature of spoilers and how they exist within Final Fantasy XIV. But before I start, don't forget to subscribe if you're a fan of Final Fantasy XIV lore. This MMO is much bigger than people think, and I've always got a story to tell. Spoilers, for those not in the know, are something that's considered pretty taboo. Spoilers are seen as anything that could potentially ruin someone's first-time experience with a form of entertainment media. Usually this is done by telling that person something that would remove any kind of curiosity or wonder from the experience. For example, let's say two people are reading a book. One person reads much faster than their friend and finishes the book ahead of the other. Now let's say that person tells their friend what happens at the end of the book before they even get to finish reading it. This is a spoiler. Now that that person knows what's going to happen, any kind of suspense that the book was trying to build was just removed, and their experience with the story was tampered with. This is why spoilers are seen as such a touchy and toxic subject to many people. Understandably, most people despise spoilers because of this, and entire memes have been generated due to this ability to ruin another person's enjoyment of a particular form of media. One of the most popular spoilers in the past couple decades was Snape kills Dumbledore. Back when Harry Potter was at its peak popularity and everyone was eagerly awaiting the next book, this little spoiler suddenly started to spread like wildfire back in 2005. The sentence, "Snape kills Dumbledore," could be found all over the place, from internet pages to car stickers. It was literally everywhere, and many people were very upset by having one of their favorite book series suddenly spoiled before they could even read that part of the story. But seeing how old that spoiler is now, it's not seen so much as a problem anymore. However, spoilers don't just affect books. Anything driven by some kind of narrative, whether it be a movie, TV show, or video game, technically will have what are considered to be spoilers, and Final Fantasy XIV is no exception. But as with our Snape killing Dumbledore example, we see that there's another side to this coin. While there are people that are upset by the idea of having their favorite form of media spoiled, there are just as many people that simply don't care about spoilers in the first place, or at least don't feel like their entire experience is ruined if said spoiler is seen. Now, I could talk for a while about the psychology between these two groups, but I want to stay on topic here. Simply put, there are two camps of individuals when it comes to spoilers. One that are very passionate about not getting their content spoiled or spoiling the content of other people, and the other group that simply don't see spoilers as detrimental or won't care if a particular form of media is spoiled for them. They'll attempt to enjoy it either way. And yet, most people fall into both camps at some point depending on the form of entertainment. I'm sure there are some TV shows you really don't care about, and if they're spoiled for you, then you won't lose sleep over it. However, in the same breath, I can assume many of you would be out for blood if someone spoiled the story of a brand new game you were excited to play. And a great example of this is indeed Final Fantasy XIV. This MMO is story-driven to the extreme, so much so that many players will likely scoff at you if they hear you used a story skip just to catch up to them. As such, new expansions and patches within Final Fantasy XIV are seen as sacred by many players, and anyone who would dare to spoil the new content would be attacked on sight by a variety of people. However, despite Final Fantasy XIV's popularity and the popularity of its story, the two groups of people I mentioned earlier technically still exist. While most players love Final Fantasy XIV and hate spoilers, the people who don't care about spoilers are still there. Maybe they're simply logging in to have fun with their friends, raid, and don't care about the narrative. And honestly, this is fine. People are free to enjoy this MMO however they wish. But in this age of information and communication, it's incredibly easy to spoil something for someone. You don't have to look much further than certain YouTube title cards or titles for an example of this. Some people spoil a show as soon as a new episode comes out. But with all this in mind, you start to see the divide. Because on one hand, you'll have people that don't want to talk about or reveal Final Fantasy XIV's story in fear of spoiling the content for new players, and on the other hand, you've got the people that don't really care and simply want to talk about the content. So how does one go about reconciling and satisfying both groups? The easiest and most used method is, of course, a spoiler warning. These warnings are an easy way to tell people it's now their responsibility to make sure they're not being spoiled. And that, my friends, is what I find to be the core of spoilers, or at least how I try to treat them as both an avid enjoyer of stories and creator myself. Understanding responsibility. You see, I actually have a little chart I follow when it comes to these things. Simply put, the newer a form of media is, the more it's my responsibility to take care and avoid spoiling content for other people. It's my responsibility to keep my mouth shut when it comes to newer stories and material so many people have the chance to enjoy it before I discuss it, which of course encourages me to lace what I can with spoiler warnings when appropriate. However, the opposite is also true. The older a form of media is, the less it becomes my responsibility to keep someone from being spoiled. It is now their responsibility to avoid reading pages or watching videos that could spoil their experience if that sort of thing matters to them. This is because the older something is, the more time it has to spread, which means you're more likely to see spoilers as time progresses. And the more that information spreads, the less people are responsible for wanting to talk about it. So, personally, whenever I try to gauge spoilers, I judge it by its age. For an example, Final Fantasy XIV's popularity attracted multiple new YouTubers and streamers to the game.
I hate video games!
These people have only helped with the game's popularity and growth, as they've attracted thousands of new players. Players that have likely never given Final Fantasy XIV's story a single thought. But many of these individuals became a part of this world many years after A Realm Reborn's release. Since these people were late to the party, in a manner of speaking, it's ultimately their responsibility to avoid spoilers if that's something that they care about. Even Shadowbringers has been out for more than 3 years now. That's more than enough time for spoilers in that expansion to become more or less common knowledge, or in some circles, old news. However, that doesn't mean everyone should go out of their way to spoil content for other people either. We should always be mindful to respect one another's experiences, especially with something brand new. Yet in the same breath, you also can't really blame people for talking about something that's been out for more than a year either. As you no doubt have seen, this is why the topic of spoilers is always such a volatile subject, and the intensity of these spoilers changes based off of the story's age, what it means to you, and the groups you hang around with. So remember, my friends, be mindful of one another's experiences, but don't be afraid to talk about material you enjoy either. Just make sure that content isn't brand new and you'll be fine to discuss it around most people. But that'll be all from me for now. Spoilers was a topic I wanted to touch on for a good while, and I'm glad I finally got the chance. But now that I've had my fun, it's time to get back into the nitty-gritty and bring to you all the lore I've been steadily collecting over the past few weeks. So, until my next lesson begins, stay safe, my friends.